What is up, nerds, geeks, and gamers? It's Rage, and today I'm going to be making some simple Alfredo. Chicken Alfredo, sorry. I forgot to put chicken in there. Yeah, it's a really easy recipe. All you need is, obviously, you want your chicken, you need your noodles. I like angel hair spaghetti or thin spaghetti myself, but you could always use like penne or other kinds. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're also going to need some butter for cooking the chicken. And then I'm using ragu garlic Alfredo sauce, but the brand and type of Alfredo doesn't really matter too much. I like classic or garlic the most, but I know that there are other flavors of Alfredo out there that you can choose. Ragu was simply the cheapest at my grocery store too, but I don't really notice a huge difference between the brands. And then lastly, I have a bag of frozen vegetables here that I'm gonna add in near the end. You can also add like broccoli or mushrooms. I love both of those, but I typically just use mixed veggies. And then obviously you have the chicken. Um, so before you get started on everything, fill up a pan of water and get it going so that way it can be boiling by the time you're done cutting up your chicken. So you can cook the noodles and hopefully have your chicken done around the same time as your noodles. So I already, as I said, got a pan of water out and I filled it up pretty close to full. So I'm just gonna go ahead, turn on the fire, turn on my oven, the stove top, I should say. And yeah, I'm just gonna let that get to a boil while I cut up my chicken. So once you're done cutting up your chicken, go ahead and check up on your water to see if it's boiling. Depending on how fast or slow you were, obviously, your or the temperature that you had your flame set to, the water can be done, but it might not be. And as for me, it looks like it's not boiling yet, but it's close. I turned the temperature up a little bit, so hopefully it'll start boiling here in the next minute or two. I'm gonna go ahead and start cooking the chicken up. So you're gonna take, obviously, you just take your chicken, go ahead and put it in the pan that you're planning on cooking it in, and go ahead and season it. So pretty decent amount of chicken, I'd say. Obviously, it's gonna shrink quite a lot, but you know, it's gonna be enough. You don't have to use too much chicken. You don't have to spend too much money on this. A good Alfredo should cost like $15. It used to cost like 10, but that's the world we're living in right now. And you'll find out why I took out the butter here in a minute. Because I cook my chicken in butter. It helps it not stick to itself or the pan. Once you're done cutting up your chicken, go ahead and wash your hands. I just did. And then go ahead and cut your butter up into pieces. One big piece, a couple smaller pieces, doesn't really matter, just enough. That way all your chicken will be coated, and so that way they don't stick to each other. I would say that this about 2 tablespoons is enough butter, in my opinion. You could always use a little bit more, a little bit less, but yeah, it's just up to you. So you're gonna go ahead and turn on your pan with the chicken. I'm gonna put it on a medium-ish heat, like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw my stick of butter in there. Boom. And then I'm gonna go and stir the chicken around a little bit, get the butter so it's actually touching the pan and melts rather than being on top of the chicken and taking forever. Because if you let it just stay on top of the chicken like that, your chicken will start to stick together. And it can be a real hassle to unstick your chicken. So now you just let your chicken cook. I put away the things that you don't need anymore, like the butter. Go ahead and put that back in the fridge. So it's been a few minutes. Um, the chicken should be done by now, and this is where you go ahead and put in your Alfredo sauce. You can choose to wait until your noodles are done and then put the Alfredo with the noodles and keep it on so the ragu will heat up. Or you can add it with your chicken. I choose to add it with my chicken, and I'm gonna go and defrost my frozen vegetables too before I add them in. You can either defrost them and add them in with the Alfredo, or you can just put them in the Alfredo. It'll take longer. Doesn't really matter in my opinion, but you can choose either one. And my noodles, I've been slowly, you know, for, forking them over the last couple of minutes here to make sure they're not sticking. They should be about done. So I'm gonna let them cook another 3, 4 minutes maybe. And then to make sure you get all the sauce out of your Alfredo that you can, feel free to put the lid back on and just, tip them over. And go ahead and stir the Alfredo into your chicken so that way, it'll be nice and coated and hopefully heat a little bit more evenly. And then once I'm done mixing the Alfredo with the chicken, I'm going to go ahead and put the frozen vegetables in the microwave. And I've had them sitting out for quite a while now, so they're already almost thawed. So instead of putting it in there for the recommended amount of time, I'm gonna put it in there for like 3 minutes. And you just want to make sure you have this side is up. I don't know what would happen if you didn't, but I am a little too scared to find out. So you just wait for that to heat up and for the Alfredo to warm up, and then hopefully the noodles will be done by the time everything is ready, and then you just have to strain them, and then you can either put everything into one pot, which is what I typically do, or if you made a lot of noodles and you're worried about not having enough sauce, you can, take out however much noodles you want and then take the sauce and chicken and, be more proportional with it. I forgot to say, because I forgot myself, that when you're going to boil your water, put a lid on it. It makes it heat up way faster, stops a lot of the water from actually evaporating, and just brings it to a boil way faster. So, I ended up putting a lid on my pot of water right there, and now the water is boiling. So it's up to you what you want to do with your noodles. Uh, I normally break them in half. Some people say that's blasphemy. I'm looking at you, Italians. Other people don't really care. So it's up to you. I think breaking your noodles in half for a super saucy dish like Alfredo just makes it less messy to eat. Um, but it's up to you how you prefer. You can experiment if you want. I normally use about half a box when I go and make Alfredo. Maybe a little bit more than half, depending. But I'm gonna go ahead and break it. Make sure you break it over your pot of boiling water and not anywhere else. Otherwise, when you go and break your noodles in half, it's gonna get everywhere. That's just best practice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break it in half, and then put the noodles in there. And looks like I lied to you because that doesn't really look like a whole lot of noodles. So I'm actually just gonna go and do the whole case of noodles. And then for the next 2 minutes or so, I like to take a fork and stab my noodles so that way they don't stick together. Some people say that you should use like olive oil to stop your noodles sticking together, but If you do that, then when you go to actually like put sauce on your noodles, they don't hold the sauce that well. You can also, put a lid on your chicken as well. Um, for some reason, we are always out of like the big lid that we need for this particular pan here, so I didn't do that. But it helps cook your chicken a little bit more evenly. And then, after like 2 or so minutes, you can just kind of forget about your noodles and just make sure you check them in like 8 to 10 minutes. I personally don't like al dente noodles. I like my noodles cooked so much that they are almost falling apart. But that's just me. I don't know. I'm a weird texture guy. You can always cook your noodles a little shorter than I do. You can follow the box directions, etc., etc. The veggies are done. They feel pretty warm throughout. So just be careful when you're taking them out of the microwave. You might want to let them sit for a little bit, depending on if you cook them for the full time or not. And yeah, so now we're just going to open the bag and throw it in with the Alfredo, being as careful as possible not to spill it, because this pan is starting to look very loaded. Like very loaded. You're going to want to be very careful. Like look at how full this looks. Very full. You gotta be very careful. And then once we're done mixing the veggies in with the Alfredo, I'm gonna go ahead and check the noodles and see if they are done or not. Okay, so the veggies are in, and now it's time to check on the noodles. And the best way to do that is to just take your fork and grab a string out. Go ahead and pull it down a little bit so you don't burn yourself when you eat it. Mm-hmm. It's done. You can also, you don't have to chew it. You can also just take your finger and squish it, and depending on how firm or soft it is, that's how you'll know it's done. So I'm gonna go ahead and strain it out. You want to be very careful not to burn yourself on either the steam or the hot boiling water. And I like to be pretty thorough, and this also helps the noodles cool down a little bit faster. So just go ahead and take it, and I like to go up and down with it. I think that releases the most heat. You can also just go in circles and stuff. Both of them really help get the water out of the noodles. And it doesn't really take that much effort. I'd say the noodles are done right now, actually. I took like 30 seconds. Go ahead and put the noodles back in the pot. And go and rinse out your strainer. It's at this point that you're 99% of the way done. So go ahead and take your Alfredo jars if you decide you want to get that last little bit of Alfredo out of them, and go put it with the rest of your Alfredo sauce, your chicken, and your mixed veggies. And once that little extra bit is done getting to the same temperature as the rest of your sauce, you should be done and ready to eat. So the food's all done. I turned off the heat for the chicken Alfredo, and I already made my plate. Here it is in all its glory. It looks delicious and it smells tasty. So I'm going to go ahead and take the first bite and let you know what I think. That's absolutely delicious. It's one of the few meals I eat like every month, and I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of chicken Alfredo. It was super easy to make. All it took was a little bit of time. And I mean, outside of my mom eating this for her dinner, this is enough to last me like 2 or 3 days. I'm probably gonna eat this for lunch tomorrow, to be honest with you, and then for dinner again. So I really recommend this nice, simple Alfredo recipe with quotes. I don't know if you really would want to call it a recipe because it seems really simple and easy in my opinion. But yeah, I really recommend this. If you've never had it before, please try it. And in a few days' time, I'm gonna be showing you a homemade chicken Alfredo that I think you guys will love. So watch out for that video, and I'll see you guys later. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to get notified when I go live or release a video. It really helps me out and makes me more motivated to continue streaming and making YouTube videos and stuff like that. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.